Live.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent presidential candidate whose standing has dropped in the polls, sought a meeting with Vice President Kamala Harris to discuss endorsing her in exchange for a promise of a cabinet post. And the Biden administration announced the results of landmark price negotiations between Medicare and the pharmaceutical companies over the prices of 10 costly or common medications taken by millions of older Americans. Now, had the new prices been in effect last year, Medicare would have saved $6 billion. Democrats are making an aggressive new effort to challenge Republican claims to the language and symbolism of liberty. Using traditionally right-leaning words and phrasing, they are portraying themselves as the true champions of universal American values and their conservative rivals as proponents of deeply intrusive policies that threaten fundamental freedoms. And former campaign manager for Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway, has offered a recipe this week for Trump's struggling 2024 campaign. Conway says the winning formula for Trump is very plain to see. It's fewer insults and more insights and a policy contrast. Fellow former Trump advisor Peter Navarro agrees. He says when Trump attacks Vice President Harris personally rather than on policy, Harris's support among swing voters just continues to rise. And the lineup at next week's Democratic National Convention is starting to come into focus. But uncommitted delegates concerned about the war in Gaza are unlikely to be among the speakers over 4 nights of programming. The group representing uncommitted delegates, the Uncommitted National Movement, put in requests with the Democratic National Committee, but with just a few days until Monday's convention start, it hasn't been given an answer, and representatives of the group said members are increasingly pessimistic that the request will be accepted. And since President Joe Biden exited the presidential race on July 21st and passed the baton to Kamala Harris, the race has effectively reversed itself. It is no exaggeration to state that Harris would be the favorite to win the White House, according to polls, if the presidential contest were held today. Relative to the day that Biden dropped out, Harris has gained 2 percentage points nationally and as of Sunday leads in national polling averages. She also is ahead in 5 of the 7 swing states. This is the news of the day, and this is Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. I am glad to be back in the seat today. I want to give a big shout out to my producer and my guest host who held it down for me last week. I was not on a frolic and not on a beach vacationing, which I could use some R&R, but I was on the island of Martha's Vineyard attending a conference, speaking at a conference on the issue of reparations, restorative justice, and setting national policy around restoring land to Black folks who had it taken, stolen, and in some cases burned down, some cases happening as much as 60 to 100 years ago. Also meeting with key Democratic leaders, elected officials, as we all are getting geared up to head to Chicago for the Democratic National Convention next week. So happy to be joined in this hour by 2 experts on an issue that's going to be top of mind for many of us headed to the convention, and that is artificial intelligence and how these deep fakes, as they are called, are being used in this election. Whether it's Donald Trump saying that Kamala Harris, that her rallies were AI generated, or him saying that there was a spoofed robocall of President Joe Biden telling voters not to cast their ballot, we know that AI is fueling rampant misinformation in this campaign. The FBI and other agencies are coordinating with the major social media companies to fight what government officials warned was a coming onslaught, and it is here. It's not just coming, it's here. An onslaught of foreign disinformation and influence operations. They knew it was coming. They knew it was coming because of the November election. In at least 2 instances in the recent weeks, companies have taken action to remove malign content. This is according to Biden administration and company officials. but are they doing enough? Can enough be done? And what can be done to help folks understand the difference between what's real and what is a deep fake? Well, we have two experts joining us in this hour. One is Dominique Shelton. She has written a book on this very topic. Her book is called Trust, Responsible AI, Innovation, Privacy, and Data Leadership. Also in this segment, or this hour, is going to be with us the entire hour. And returning is Professor Andre Brock. He is a professor of literature, media, and communication at Georgia Institute of Technology. And he's our go-to person on how social media is being manipulated and how foreign interests are targeting certain groups of voters, particularly Black voters. So when we come forward, we're going to talk about AI, everything you need to know about it, how you can tell what's real and what's fake on social media. This is one conversation you don't want to miss. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580, when we come forward.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Tavis is like George and Wheezy. He's moving on up. Last year, Tavis was number 45 on the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. Wait for it. Wait for it. The 2024 list was recently released, and Tavis has jumped to number 33 on the list of the nation's most important talkers, making him the highest-ranked African-American on the coveted roster. Congratulations to Tavis Smiley from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580. We've got you black. This is KBLA Talk 1580, home of the 2024 Climate Justice Campaign.
Febreze. Fabric Talk. Hey, it's me, your couch. Today's my favorite day of the week, Febreze Fabric Spray Day. The occasional deep cleans are nice, but in between, I'm needing a refresh. Ooh, here she comes with the Febreze Fabric Spray. Oh yeah, spritz them armrests. Don't be shy. Nothing like a good spray down to get me smelling so fresh and clean. Don't forget my back. Nice. Febreze Fabric Spray. It's just that easy. Now we can both breathe happy. Febreze. La 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 la.
We're thrilled to announce that the Dear Future Wifey podcast is now available on the Urban One Podcast Network. This show, hosted by Latiris R. Whitfield, explores the journey of discovering and rediscovering love and relationships. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey has become a prototype for discussions about love and relationships. Learn how to rediscover love, heal, and have faith in relationships. Go to urbanonepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
We are back, and in this hour, we are talking about artificial intelligence and its impact on the upcoming November election. I am joined in this hour by Dominique Shelton Leipzig. She is a partner at Mayer Brown. She's also a policy expert on AI, that's artificial intelligence and data privacy. She's also the author of a book called Trust, Responsible AI, Innovation, Privacy, and Data Leadership. Also, Professor Andre Brock is joining us in this hour. He is a communications and social media expert from the Georgia Institute of Technology. Welcome to the show, Dominique, and welcome back, Professor Brock. Dominique, first I want to start with your book. Why this book? Why is this a book that everyone needs to read, particularly anyone who has some concerns about artificial intelligence and privacy issues? I think you're on mute, Dominique. I'm not hearing you. I think we may be having some technical issues with her while we try to work through those technical issues. Let's talk to Dr. Brock. Dr. Brock, AI, deep fakes, man, talk to us about this. We knew this was coming. The Biden administration knew this was coming. This is scary stuff because Donald Trump just said that the 10,000 people that showed up at Kamala Harris and Tim Walz's rally in Philadelphia, the one in Georgia, that these folks showing up at rallies aren't true, that these are all artificially intelligent, created, content to fool people, that these images aren't real. Images that we see of people dancing and being joyous and holding up signs, he says, is all one big fake.
I mean, if you want to talk about fake images, we can talk about the one he posted. I think it was last week where he was in a picture with what looked to be 6 Black women, and he was in the center, but half the Black women had 6 fingers. One of them arm went through the other one, right? So if anybody knows, a liar knows about lies. Like, let's be clear about that. I say that though jokingly, but it's true that there are a number of threats that AI, and in particular its capacity to capture and reanimate people's voices just from a small clip of audio, or to create fake images, is a serious problem. Apparently, there's an app that just was released that can take as little as 1 second of you talking and almost accurately recreate your voice and make up words that you say, right? And so the capacity of AI is not about the intelligence part, it's about the artificial part. And it's really skilled at making pattern matching in a way that seems to make sense to people like us who are looking for patterns in the images that we see or the text that we read. And at first glance, in some cases, many of them can be really fool the eye. So before the break, I sent you and Rob an image that was posted on a website that I follow, The Verge, and somebody used Twitter's image generating mechanism to circumvent their safety barriers, and had it create an image of Elon Musk and Mickey Mouse with AR-15s in a classroom with dead bodies on the floor. Right. And these are the redacted images, right? I don't know if the regular images are still up, but you can see how disturbing this is. This is something that can be easily recreated. So
let me just hold a second, Dr. Brock. How is this different from Photoshop? So I'm looking at this image of Mickey Mouse, Elon Musk with the AR-15 rifle in their hands, the dead bodies who are, they're not clearly visible. They're kind of blurred. But why isn't this just Photoshop? Why isn't this taking a picture of Elon Musk, photoshopping a gun into his hand, taking a picture of Mickey Mouse? What makes this artificial intelligence, or is Photoshop a form of artificial intelligence?
Photoshop uses AI tools in order to do things like replace the background, right? So if you think about it, AI is simply a marketing term for advanced machine algorithms. So Photoshop does use AI tools to do stuff like make backgrounds transparent or snatch a piece of the image out. One of my favorite Twitter people, Kev on Stage, recently made the mistake of showing a video of him breakdancing at a wedding, and people took that image where he was in his last little pose on the floor and made him look like he was doing the Heisman, put him in all kinds of things. So you can use Photoshop to manipulate images to make them, to add them to other surreal images. I mean, to otherwise realistic images. The trick with generative adversarial networks, which is what these images, these photos that you're seeing on the screen come from, is that they make backgrounds that look photorealistic. So this is something that even a skilled Photoshop artist would take some time to create. In the meantime, if you give the AI the prompt, the GAN the prompt, it will create this on its own. right? Based on images that it has stored, many of them which are disturbing because they scraped them without any kind of curation or vetting from Reddit and YouTube and other places. And as such, you'll get something, that third picture, which looks pretty photorealistic, of Elon carrying an AR-15. Right. And so it's the danger is much more so that our eyes are now expecting a realistic image, and these AIs are sophisticated enough to generate images in high enough resolution to look realistic at first glance.
So that begs the question, do you need to be an expert like yourself? Because at first glance, you're right. This picture of Elon Musk in this classroom looks real. Now, obviously, the Mickey Mouse, you would say, well, Mickey Mouse not likely to be with Elon Musk in a classroom with dead people. So if you give it any thought, you probably know it's fake. But the image looks so good that it's a little, it's uncanny how good the image looks. So how is the average everyday person who's just scrolling through their social media feed, their X feed, their Instagram feed, and they see this photo, and folks start sharing it?
One of the principles about information literacy, particularly in this age of AI generated images and trolling posts that the algorithm sends you, one of the first thing I tell my students is, when you see something that excites you to want to react to it, pause, take a second, think, and then start to look at it, right? Because in many cases, there's going to be something, because these AI image generators are not perfect, there's going to be something in the image that does not ring true, right? Even if it's something like, trying to scrub the numbers off Kamala's plane, right, to make it look like that it was an actual Photoshop plane and that there was no real crowds. Take a second, but also look for other sources that have also interacted with the image or with the text. And if you take a moment to reflect and think about it, you won't be as likely to be taken in by it. Being said, one of my favorite accounts is one that does recreations of African Americans in history, and it's posted some images where the African Americans they've recreated are not historically accurate, right? And so even in things which you think are benign, right, you should still take time to think about it before you react to it and start sharing it on your networks.
So I'm wondering if you, or I think Dominique is back, if either of you have seen this video of this woman who is in the breakdancing contest at the Olympics. And it's a video. That's not AI. So there's this woman who's breakdancing, and then there's she's a white woman, and there's a black woman who literally is recreating the dance moves. And it is to show you, according to this black woman, how horrible this woman is at breakdancing. I don't know if you've seen that, Dominique, but how would you know? I mean, the woman that's in the so-called Olympic competition is so bad. I mean, her dancing is so horrible. I couldn't believe that it was real. And then the black woman was like, getting on the floor and rolling around, spinning around, trying to show you, that anybody could do this at home, that you don't need to be an Olympian to do what this woman was doing. But how would you know? Like Dr. Brock just said, that's real. But how would anyone know the difference?
So, Areva, first of all, I love that story. And thank you so much for having me on. I'm a big fangirl of you and your work. And I just want to say congratulations for all you're doing. This is so important, Areva, because it is very difficult for even experts to be able to discern what is accurate and what is fake. And that's why it's so important for voters, our community in general, to take a look. If something does not, just as Professor Brock said, if something does not make sense, that's the time to investigate further. In your opening, when you talked about the robocalls that happened during the primary with President Biden, encouraging people not to vote. So if a message doesn't match what it is the candidate should be saying, or the candidates denigrating themselves, saying, I don't belong here, I'm not qualified, like the video that Mr. Musk posted that was inaccurate, that's the time for the voters to put their thinking caps on and discern and double check. And I just think that's so important, because it's going to be very hard to check. And very lastly, I'll say, our legislation is not going to be ready in time for these elections in November. That's why our electorate really needs to be alert. And I also want to encourage the campaigns to direct voters to the accurate information, whether it's their websites or if they want to put things on a blockchain, but do something to make sure that you are taking control of the narrative, because I don't believe the social media companies will be able to stamp out all of the misinformation and disinformation out there.
Talk about this legislation, Dr. Brock, a pretty significant piece of legislation designed to address some of these issues. When will it become effective, and what will it do?
Child, your guess is as good as mine. The pace of Congress moves very slowly with respect to this type of legislation. They recently just passed the Kids Online Safety Act, which is actually a fair amount of legislative overreach in terms of determining what platforms are liable for when it comes to producing material that may harm a minor. Right? They left it so broad that you could literally post anything and have it taken down. Like if you just posted your review of your latest Spotify find, the song that made you happy, you could get taken down legally under this act, even before DMCA is applied. And so we have an information deficit in Congress. Ms. Shelton-Leipzig is correct. They are so far behind the ball in terms of trying to catch up to where the technology actually is. And explicitly, and if you think about it in this way, Google just got they lost a battle against the Department of Justice where they said they were a monopoly. Right. And I bring that up because Google dominates search right now, but many of their search terms have been spammed by AI and search engine optimization. Right. And so in many ways, there's no way that the government can come up with a remedy to address those problems in a way that will help us before the election. It's simply too many moving parts at one time. And then Google's going to appeal this in multiple cases all the way up to the Supreme Court before we get any type of remedy or relief. And so, again, I think it's really important to understand not just that things are designed to be put out there to shock you or to amaze you or to intrigue you, but also realize that many of the platforms and the spaces that we rely on, from Twitter and to Facebook to Instagram to Google, are not good actors. Mm-hmm. Right. The former president of Google recently said, scrape first, then let the lawyers bail you out. Right. And so there's just a number of ways that these companies are acting unethically, actually immorally, right, to make more money based on the fact that they can financialize this AI hype cycle. And I'll stop there.
Yeah. And so, Dominique, speak to that. This legislation, Professor Brock doesn't seem very encouraged that it's going to do much to curtail the kind of behavior we see, because there's no profit motivation for these platforms. Elon Musk, with respect to the Mickey Mouse and the AR-15 rifle in the classroom, says, hey, people are just having fun. I don't want to, reel this in. Why do that? What do you think about this legislation? Do you think, obviously not before November, but after the election, might it have some impact on the proliferation of this AI and these deep fakes?
Yeah, so let me say a couple things there. First of all, this is a global issue, and it requires a global remedy. We had 60 countries with national elections going on in 2024, and deepfakes and misinformation and disinformation were issues in all of them, and they will be in the ones going on through the end of the year, including the US. So I'm excited for the US to take the lead. It probably will not happen until after the election, but there are two things that can happen before, and then what happens after. So before, the campaigns don't need to accept that truth has to be fuzzy and they have to be awash in misinformation, disinformation, and our voters can't be pointed to accurate information. This is something that the campaigns can actually take control and direct voters to where correct information lies. While we're waiting for legislation, the FCC also has promulgated some rules that will not be finalized before the election, but there's no reason a website couldn't be, or a user interface couldn't be set up powered by blockchain, which once video or content is on a blockchain, it cannot be changed. And at least there would be a signature that it's coming from that campaign. If you don't see the video saying signed by Kamala Harris campaign or a PAC that's approved, then you don't have to take that. That should be a indicator that what you're dealing with is a false message. So I'm excited for our campaigns to take the lead, for our agencies to do what they can to step forward and take control and let the rest of the world follow, because this is something that is within our control to use technologies to get accurate information out to our voters.
And I hear you, Dominique. And yes, the campaigns, and we know fact checking is something that some of the major news outlets try to do. We know the campaign obviously is constantly combating this disinformation. But what I worry about, Dr. Brock, are those voters who aren't going to take the time to go to a campaign website or a DNC website or any website to get the truth. And because of the quickness of our news cycles, last week we were reporting something that we had to retract. We were reporting because we got sent stories that Simone Biles was donating $4 million to the Harris Walls campaign, $1 million for each of the 4 U.S. gymnasts. We reported that out, and then my smart producer Robert said, well, let me check this. We started checking around Sports Illustrated, Wash Post, New York, places where that story would have been. We couldn't find any verification for it. Then we went and looked at what Simone Biles had made last year. Don't know if it's true, but we were told by some site that she only made $7 million. So if you only made $7 million, not likely that you're donating $4 million to a political campaign. So I retracted the story. I'm on Martha's Vineyard last week and the last couple of days, and people tell me the story again. I said, wait. I've heard that story, and I've tried to fact check it. I've not been able to find any reputable source for that statement, and I still haven't to this day. So even folks like me, seasoned, experienced news people, media, journalists, check every box, can be fooled by these false and fake stories because we will see a name, we see a picture, and at the time that seemed fairly reasonable, right? We're all excited about the Olympics. Maybe somebody got super excited and donated, but like I said, we were not able to verify it. When we come forward, I want to talk about what does the person who's super busy, who doesn't have time to go check websites, can't do that kind of fact checking, isn't going to have a Robert. How do they know what's real and what's a deep fake? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
Right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. A handgun registered to the infamous killer Christopher Donner, who is Black, has resurfaced more than 11 years after his death. Federal investigators say a pair of South American crime tourists, criminals who pose as tourists, may have used the gun in a robbery outside of the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Beverly Hills, California last week. The Detroit, Michigan Reparations Task Force has a 35-question survey for Black residents to take to help them suggest how reparations should be made in the city. DRTF co-chair Sidney Calloway, who is Black, says they'll give the results to the Detroit City Council. New York City, New York Mayor Eric Adams, who is Black, plans on highlighting the migrant crisis when he heads to Chicago, Illinois next week for the Democratic National Convention. Adams says he'll be meeting with Democratic national leaders to talk with them about the issues he'll push for speeding up work authorization for migrants. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Over in Commerce, Sunny Lane is currently blocked with stop traffic from 4th Street. On the 5 South at Washington Boulevard, over 55 minutes due to an accident. On the Sepulveda that passes 405 North before Getty Center Drive, expect a 25-minute traffic jam from National Boulevard as an accident blocks the right lane. Back on the 110 South through Elysian Park between Stadium Way and Manchester, a 25-minute traffic jam is ahead. Also expect a 40-minute backup from Pasadena's 210 East between Highway 134 and Citrus Avenue. And the 101 South in Calabasas remains heavy over 25 minutes between Las Virgenes Road and White Oak Avenue.
Attention California drivers. The kids of Caltrans workers count on you to keep their loved ones safe. So when you see a highway work zone, please slow down and pay attention. Remember, that's someone's loved one out there. Be work zone alert.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh appears to be the only NFL coach or executive willing to give Colin Kaepernick a chance to return to the NFL. Harbaugh confirmed that he has offered a coaching position on his staff to the former NFL quarterback. Harbaugh said he talked to Kaepernick earlier this year after accepting the Chargers job. Harbaugh is waiting to hear back from Kaepernick. Kaepernick, now 36, has been out of the league since 2017. He was blackballed by the NFL for kneeling on the sidelines during the national anthem to protest social injustices in the U.S. Harbaugh's coaching offer is the first legitimate opportunity for Kaepernick to return to the NFL since the 2017 season. It is no surprise that Harbaugh is trying to open the door for Kaepernick. Kaepernick was Harbaugh's starting quarterback for 2 seasons when Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers. Stay tuned on this situation. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your blood. Keep following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend, Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and we are talking about artificial intelligence and disinformation on the internet and how it is impacting our election. The election is coming up in about 82 days. Dominique Shelton-Leipzig is here. She's a partner at Mayer Brown, which is a law firm, policy expert, AI and data privacy expert. She's also the author of a book called Trust, Responsible AI, Innovation, Privacy, and Data Leadership. And our good friend, Dr. Andre Brock, is here. He is our social media expert, all things media and communication from Georgia Institute of Technology. So Dominique, talk a little bit more about your book. What, why did you write it? What can people expect? And who needs to be reading this book, particularly in this moment?
So the book is really for everyone. It's written in particular for CEOs and board members and leaders that are running enterprises to give them the tools necessary for the governance needed to have trustworthy technology. You see, companies that are trusted are 400% more successful than those that are not. And so to Professor Brock's point and yours earlier, it's to a CEO, to a board member that I've spoken to, they are concerned about making sure that they put their best foot forward for the organization and don't have a situation where their market cap is tanking because people do not trust what's on the platform. The reality is that we are, with AI expediting everything and enhancing everything, we have disinformation and misinformation at scale in our systems. And to your point earlier, Areva, one fake video, the one that was of Kamala that Mr. Musk posted, 130 million views in 2 days. So this is why it's so important that we triangulate right now and use our platforms to ensure that our voters have a healthy skepticism. If something doesn't make sense, the candidates speaking against their own interest or encouraging you not to vote, that's the time to be suspect and do the research and ensure that you've got accurate information.
So I know you talk a lot about blockchain. Describe to us what that is and how that can be useful in this moment.
So blockchain is the backbone or the operating system behind, some people have heard about cryptocurrency. And this is basically, it's a form of technology, which is by distributed ledger or distributed servers, where once something is put on to the blockchain operating system, it can't be changed. They call it immutable, but basically it is fixed in time. And there's a signature right there to show that it came from the source. So for right now, in this moment of disinformation, misinformation, and AI being able to move things at scale, voters do need to have an accurate place to get information. And the candidates themselves can use their bully pulpit, also encouraging the Federal Elections Commission, the FCC, to look at things like standing up a blockchain powered, almost like a alternate to the X feed or Facebook feed, a blockchain powered website where accurate information sits. Nikki Haley, for example, in the Republican primaries, when Ron DeSantis was making a lot of accusations in the primary during the debates that she didn't agree with, she encouraged voters to go to her website to get accurate information. With the hacks and everything that we have going on, those can't even be compromised. So that's why I'm suggesting if there's something set in time that is signed by the campaigns, that might be one way to show leadership. And of course, the U.S. is going to need to step forward with strong legislation. Senator Klobuchar and Senator Thune have some that they are putting forward to protect our elections, but we won't get the benefit of it in time in the 84 days that we have left.
So Dominique raises a good point, Professor Brock. Nikki Haley says Ron DeSantis is making false statements. Go to my website to get the truth. Well, I don't know. Is Nikki Haley telling the truth? Is that unbiased? Is that, accurate information? I feel like in this moment, it's hard to know who to rely on. I pick up the Washington Post. They have these polls about how Kamala Harris is polling against Donald Trump. I have a friend who sends me a gazillion posts on X, formerly known as Twitter, that are completely different from everything that's written in the Washington Post. And there's, as you know, on social media, a lot of folks who are saying, don't trust legacy media. Don't trust corporate media. They're getting it wrong. They're not giving it to us straight. You've got to find, I don't know, someone on social media or some other alternative to legacy media that you can follow. But I go back to that everyday person, that person that doesn't have time to go from the Washington Post to the New York Times to NBC to NPR, to all of these sites to try to verify a story. What are they to do? And I know Dominique is saying if it looks suspicious, don't believe it. But some of this stuff doesn't look suspicious.
Unmute.
First of all, let's give you a shout out because not many journalists would admit on air to having to retract and revise something that they got wrong. And I wish more people would be more upfront about doing that. Second of all, I think that Black people are right to be paranoid. Black most people are right to be paranoid about mainstream media at this point, because they've clearly demonstrated that they're not in it to actually inform the public, as is the role of the fourth estate. So we could talk about the fact that they released a whole tranche of documents about Trump, but the Post, the New York Times, and the Washington Post, and New York Times, and another paper I can't remember, is not releasing any information about those documents, which is very different from what they did to Hillary Clinton in 2016, right? So
let me stop you with that. I saw, the headlines are, there was this hack, there was this leak, but we're not going to show you the documents. What is that about?
Get your people.
I know, I'm disappointed with my people. I was like, well, wait a minute, did we talk about those emails? Oh my God, yes. Okay, so yes, legacy media, motivated by profit, motivated by shareholder profits. So where are you telling your students? Like, where do they go? I had a young man ask me, he's a finance guy. He says, Areva, I read all the finance journals. I'm just really getting into politics. What paper should I subscribe to? I had a hard time giving him an answer.
I find, just from my own news, that I supplement whatever information I get through the social media feeds with Al Jazeera and The Guardian. They have less biased reporting on New York things, and they're coming from an outsider's perspective. So The Guardian literally said Trump lies during his his most recent press conference, right? You're not going to see that in most American newspapers. They're just not going to do it. The other thing I want to point out, and this is just from my own research, is that we are trained to think that if you present something to us on a white page, even if it's in our browser with black text with the right headlines, that it's an authoritative source, right? And so Trump recently got sued by Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State from Michigan. Not Trump, sorry. Musk recently got sued by Jocelyn Benson because they put up a form claiming to register you automatically online if you fill out your demographic information in whatever state you're in. And it turns out the battleground states that we are most concerned about getting flipped or suppressed in order to keep the Democrats from winning, you can't do online registration in Texas using a website. So basically, Musk built a website that looks legitimate, that harvests user information, right, for voter suppression or misinformation.
So this website, let me get this right. This website makes people think they are registering to vote when they in fact are not.
Absolutely does. And we've been trained by years of opening software where the software says, before you can use this, scroll through these 37 pages of legalese before you can use it. We're like, man, bump that. I need to go ahead and do these pictures right quick. Right. And so at the very bottom of the form, the website said, you may not be able to register in Texas, but nobody read that far before they entered and saved all that information. They don't. And so it's really difficult at this point in time to recommend that people rely on social media in particular for their information sources, even though that's where the vast majority of people get it from. We haven't even started talking about TikTok, right?
Yeah, well, that was a TikTok video with the breakdancer that I saw that you said is real. Now, how do you know that's real? That's, again, my question. Robert, let's find this video. I've got to show it in our next segment because it's unbelievable to me that this level of dancing would have qualified for the Olympics the first year that they have breakdancing as a part of the competition. But again, I don't know. How do we know if it's real? Jordan Childs, the whole medal debate. Someone tells me, oh, all three of the women who competed are getting a bronze medal. And me and another lawyer friend of mine says, well, wait a minute. Where'd you see that? Oh, yeah. No. That was reported this morning, all three. Now, meanwhile, it's being reported that Jordan Childs' challenge to the denial of her medal is not even going to be considered because they don't have a process by which they can take into consideration new evidence, even if there's a videotape showing that the Americans made their protest within the 1 minute time frame. And no, Jordan Childs and two other women are not sharing a bronze medal. The gymnast from Romania is getting the bronze medal. So just that quickly, he was ready to spread that, and we would have picked it up and start telling people, oh, Jordan Childs and two other women are getting a bronze medal. So this stuff is really, really serious. And I mean, this is happening in conversations with super educated people who are on their phones all day, just being fed this information. All of us looking at thousands and thousands of posts made by different folks. And I love what you said about someone, appear as authoritative. I remember when I was researching autism, when I was writing my book about autism, learning more from my son, how many folks were talking about autism as if they were doctors and experts and scientists. And then when I would dig a little deeper, it was just a mom or dad, not just, but it was a person, everyday person telling their personal story and not using scientific data or anything that should be relied upon by anyone else. So this is a lot of work. We're going to try to find that video of the breakdancer because I want to show this to our experts so they can tell us how we know if this is real or if this is a deep fake. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
Listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, man. Looks like Bobby needs a ride to the airport again.
Grab the keys.
Who's taking Auntie and her friends to the swap meet?
Grab the keys.
How about we drop these boxes off at Miss Johnson?
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, you're all about getting things done. So do it all in a Chevy SUV. From the versatile Equinox and sporty Blazer to the roomy Traverse, our lineup of SUVs will carry you through every adventure. All you have to do is
grab the keys.
That's how we do. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
Join Black Women for Wellness 25th Annual Reproductive Justice Conference on August 15th at the California Endowment Center. Unite to protect Black women's rights and become an advocate for change. Tickets on sale now at bwwla.org. That's bwwla.org. Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Linking social justice and climate justice all year long. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
We are back, and I'm trying to see if we can find the ray gun Olympic break dancer. That's her name, Ray Gun. She Rachel Ray Gun. I guess her name is Rachel Gunn. They call her AKA Ray Gun. She didn't earn any medals, but she won the hearts of many viewers at the 2024 Paris Olympics. She was in the break dancer contest. Again, she didn't win a medal. She didn't even receive a single vote from the judges, but her performance went viral because lots of folks were mocking her. And I don't know, Professor Brock, you said it's the real deal. How do you know that? Is that because you saw her perform on television?
So Vox Media posted an explainer where they talked about how this woman has actually competed internationally in both Red Bull and other breaking contests where she didn't win, but she did okay. Like she came in 60th out of 100, right? And so apparently this woman has even gone so far as to say that she thought that she would, by her Olympic performance, would show that you can do something different during the Olympics. You don't have to cater to mainstream opinions of what break-ins should look like. And I'm like, baby, you do that at home. You don't do that at the Olympics, right? I will say,
I just want to know, how did you know? Because you said you saw this whole breakdown of it.
I did watch the Olympic broadcast live.
Okay.
Thank you, Peacock. I'm sorry. Can we say alternate networks?
Absolutely. Yes.
And so I did watch it live, and I was just flabbergasted by how terrible she was. And so there's no way AI could do something that bad. There's actually an AI series where it has people in the form of spaghetti doing dances, and it's much better than this, right? Wow. If nothing else, because they have years of the video games like Fortnite and other ones who have taken emotes from dancers like what's his name, the guy who did hip hop dance videos, and Donald from Scrubs. They have all those dances that they can do that would look so much better. No AI, no person doing AI would do nothing this terrible. Nope.
Yeah, you got to find it. If you haven't seen it, Google it. I don't think we have time to put it up for you, but again, I think I saw that, Dominique, and thought that had to be fake, because yes, she was doing something different, which was trying not to win any votes and trying not to win a medal, which seems to be the purpose for being at the Olympics to begin with. But I want to ask you, Dominique, have you seen any of the campaigns doing what you have suggested? I know you just mentioned Nikki Haley did something on her website when she was running against Ron DeSantis or the other Republicans. Have you seen any other campaigns do something that you think is a great way to fight back in terms of this disinformation?
Yes, I've seen many of the campaigns just point to where the accurate information, where their position papers are and so forth, to try to educate voters. But, just like Professor Brock said, the voters themselves are going to need to, and what you were alluding to here, Areva, that voters need to go to trusted sources. He was able to discern that was a real video because he saw the actual, broadcast taking place. So going to trusted media, some of those, vetted areas for truth, like the station right here, that's a way to be able to get accurate information and start screening those things for yourself as you move forward. Other things to look at. Sometimes the deep fakes, the audio mimicking and voice mimicking has gotten very good, but sometimes there's a quickness in the voice towards the end of sentences, or a slurring of words that might be an indication. Other times you can see where, and Professor Brock talked about that, where there's smudged images or certain things that sometimes the hands might be off, things like that might give you an indication. But the reality is these fakes are getting very good. Look around the mouths as well. The deep fake technology has gotten pretty good at getting an image and then putting other sort of movements where I could be speaking and I could have President Obama's image next to me, and it looks like he's saying what I'm saying. So you just need to be really careful. I think the biggest indicator is most candidates in a voting situation are not going to say things that are against their own interest, like "don't vote for me" or "I'm not qualified." So that should be or "don't vote on Tuesday, vote on Wednesday." Things like that, trying to change what to be like the voting day or what the candidate's platform is. That's going to be your biggest indicator that a little more digging, like heading over to this site to get the accurate information, is the way to go.
So, Professor Brock, we know in the 2016 election, a lot of talk about Russian bots, and Russia, these mills that were responsible for a lot of the disinformation. Is that still the case? Is most of this AI, these fakes that we're talking about, are they being created in foreign countries outside of the US, or are there operations internally responsible for so much of this disinformation?
So I try to be careful to distinguish between a bot and a troll, right? And one of the reasons why it's not as difficult as it may seem is that AI has a lot of trouble with African-American vernacular. They just can't really get the way we talk. They do it wrong, and you usually can tell, right? And so what is actually a pretty reliable indicator is if they are grammatically incorrect with their use of AI, or if the username is basically a bunch of numbers at the end, or if they're a new account. Like those are ways to tell both bots, right? There are also troll accounts, and I would argue that trolls are much more prevalent than bots are, in part because Estonia, Ukraine, other places, Russia in particular, have entire military divisions dedicated to sowing misinformation. We saw it in 2016. We're seeing it right now, actually. There's been a recent uptick in posts trying to get people who are for Palestine and Black folk to fight online, right? And that's not bot activity. That's actually a troll army working to stir up dissent between two groups of people who should normally have been alive. Palestinians have been supporting Black protests and social justice movements since before their state was taken from them by the Nakba, right? And so bots is a good word to use. It's sexy, but truthfully, it's people behind these accounts that are using pictures of Black people, using accounts which may look a little older than usual, but you can always tell because they just jump into conversations completely uninvited. They don't have any people in common with the people having the conversations, and they start doing things to stir up drama, right? And that last piece is really key. If somebody's coming in just to try to get you to react, it's a really good chance that that's a troll, right? Whether it's a person in Romania or if it's a person in Central Ohio, right? And the key is not to necessarily react to that person, right? Because one of the things Black people love to do is clap back, but in some cases it doesn't help to clap back. If you have to do something, screenshot them, shame them with the screenshot, and then slide. Or as David Simon says, mute, block, and roll. Don't give them the pleasure, because trolls thrive on getting you to react. That's how they win. And in particular moments like this, when we have an election on the line, if they can get you to start fussing with them, that feeds back into your timeline and you look like a dummy because you done crashed out, right? And so you should be careful engaging with people who are here to piss you off.
Mute, block, and roll. That is the perfect way to end this incredibly informative session. Thank you so much, Dominique Shelton Leipzig. She is the author of Trust, Responsible AI, Innovation, Privacy, and Data Leadership. And Andre Brock, who is always right on point, and he gave us some words to live by: mute, block, and roll. Thanks to both of you. The next voice that you hear will be Robin Ayers and the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Stay with us. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Federal investigators say a pair of South American crime tourists, criminals who pose as tourists, may have used the gun in a robbery outside of